Gojo and Sukuna have one thing in common, sharing the title of the strongest, where they can achieve the impossible. Even chapter 220 confirmed that beating Sukuna is as hard as saying, "Let's go kill Satoru Gojo." However, our entire community has created the most powerful sorcerer to ever live and can defeat them. You see, Gojo confirmed that 80% of your genetics play a role in your strength. So, what if a sorcerer was born with the best traits and most insane abilities? What would they look like? Oh, and just to make it extra difficult, we can only pick the best character in each category of power once. For example, if we choose Sukuna's speed, then we will not be able to choose Sukuna again for another trait like his strength. And so, to start things off, which technique should we choose? The answer is obvious. Our sorcerer would be born with the 6 eyes and limitless, which automatically changes the balance of the world. This would give them near unlimited cursed energy and information, being able to determine a sorcerer's curse technique and function just by looking at them, where also the ability to teleport will be unlocked. These traits are so overpowered that Kenjaku lost twice trying to kill 6 eyes limitless users in the past. Gojo practically confirmed that limitless is overwhelmingly better than Shrine, and the 6 eyes allow him to match the king in cursed energy efficiency. However, by picking these traits over the 10 shadows or copy, we have lost access to Maharaga and Rika as Shikigami. But what about Takaba's comedian and Higuruma's curse technique that can give him the executioner's blade? Well, we don't want to rely on probabilities. Higuruma's domain works only if someone is guilty and they can argue a case against you, so the executioner's blade won't be granted. It worked on Sukuna because he just straight up said I'm guilty. It also prioritizes cursed tools over techniques, which is another drawback against some sorcerers, and having limitless means the executioner's blade won't be able to touch you anyways. On the other hand, Takaba's comedian only works if you're funny and can affect the soul, but so can unlimited void without the requirement of making jokes. Now you may argue that idle transfiguration is also a one-shot kill, but Yuji proved that the shape of the soul can be stabilized if you have extensive knowledge of it. Unlimited void gives us that guaranteed kill, which Sukuna himself said was a nuisance and the priority to get rid of to have a chance at victory. And with what I'm about to choose for the other categories, my sorcerer will have an even stronger output than Gojo and refinement to target a single person just like Yuta did to make sure the guaranteed hit lands every time, instead of cancelling out against others. And unlike regular sorcerers who can activate their domains twice a day at max, we can activate 5 consecutively in a row and much more with what comes next. Because whose cursed energy reserves would be best? You may claim it's obvious that it's Sukuna, but we want to save the king for another trait.
Man, maybe if Sukuna played the best anime style RPG, he might have learned some new techniques to help him. I'm talking about Honkai Impact 3rd, developed by Hoyoverse. Due to the crisis Kiana has fallen into, our favorite characters like Mei, Bronya, and even Arthur are back. So be a Valkyrie, level up characters, upgrade weapons, collect drops, and most importantly, have fun fighting the new boss Perception. She can project shadows and attack the character's reflection. Luckily, with this release, there is a new battlesuit, Shadow Dimmer. Song Cheu can now deal physical damage and summon shadows to attack enemies, and with its 2 forms, transform into the ultimate animation and enter the battlefield as Divine Gold. You also get the Battle Pass reward, this time being her share of the human ego plus her cool gear. In fact, you can obtain a free swimming suit for Prometheus and even a Yakuza outfit for Gricio. To hype things up this summer, Honkai even collaborated with Razer and iBuyPower. So, what are you doing? Don't be like Sukuna and download Honkai Impact 3rd right now. Click the link in the description below and use the code SHADOWSHOW to get a Song Cheu trial card and 2,888 asterite.
Meanwhile,
and Hikari's unlimited usage only occurs during his domain's jackpot. So that leaves us with Yuta, the second greatest in history. There are multiple occurrences where other sorcerers are amazed by it. In the beginning, Yuta had so much cursed energy that it was impossible for him to control, resulting in Gojo giving him his iconic katana, the very same that has seen him slay special grade cursed spirits for fun, as it acted as a suitable vessel to help stabilize such ridiculous power. In Volume 0, Suguru Geto dubbed Rika the Queen of Curses, and his chances of succeeding in the war would be raised from 20 to 99% should he get his hands on her. However, we find out it was Yuta who turned Rika into a special grade by creating a curse with his own energy. The reason it's so immense is that Yuta's lineage is from the Sugawara and Michizane clan, meaning he's more blessed than Gojo. This leads to multiple characters such as Itadori, Ryu and Uro describing him as bottomless. So of course, being half of Sukuna's full reserve is insane, and that's plenty considering we have the 6 eyes. However, there is a problem. With such immense cursed energy, it's hard to control. Gojo has told Yuta multiple times that his efficiency is extremely sloppy, which causes him problems. Even while taking over Gojo's body, he is finding it hard to control Limitless and can't match the power. But luckily for us, our strongest character won't have this problem, as we now have to choose the best trait of talent. And, well, this one is easy, as my choice is Higuruma. Even Sukuna himself acknowledged him by name and was fascinated with his potential, claiming it matches not only Gojo's, but his own. Within 2 months, he unlocked a domain amplification by simply observing Gojo in the fight against Sukuna, matching their feat of being able to copy someone's sorcery by looking at it only once. But that's not all. Higuruma could use his curse technique with the efficiency of the king, as he was switching between amplification and utilizing his curse technique just as well as him, and this meant the executioner's blade would not disappear. This is such an insane feat that Kashimo claimed Sukuna was a deity. Therefore, our character's path to godhood would be the same. However, things get even more crazy. Higuruma, within the first 12 days of gaining cursed energy, was already comparable to a grade 1 sorcerer like Nanami. Within that short time, he figured out the details of Jujutsu in such extreme detail without a teacher that he learned the most advanced form of Jujutsu, which is a domain expansion. He did this by reverse engineering how casting barriers work in order to master control of cursed energy. So imagine that with enough time, he could become the strongest, which garnered the attention of Kinjaku, who claimed Higuruma was the only player he was interested in. He was such a genius that he also learned RCT on the spot when Sukuna forced him to regenerate an arm and a leg, although it wasn't the best. So who do we choose for the best trait of RCT to make the strongest character? Well, that would be none other than Shoko. She's a specialist and can apply it to others to regenerate lost limbs and heal wounds, something even Satoru Gojo could not do. Ichiji and Ino both would have died if they hadn't been immediately treated by her during the Shibuya incident. Her level of competence matches the strongest. In the official fanbook, Gege himself compared Shoko to the likes of Yuta and Sukuna. She was the first one to comment after Gojo's awakening that he would fry his brain if he left his curse technique active all this time. In fact, throughout the fight between Sukuna and Gojo, she was the one who observed the moments when Gojo's RCT dipped or improved and how it would affect him. All this points to the fact that Shoko is extremely proficient, as being a doctor and knowing the biology of humans as well as cursed spirits would give serious benefits to our strongest sorcerer we are building. In chapter 258, she states that as long as her patient accepts her cursed energy, she can be effective in treatment and recover all blood loss, even though the king confirmed that healing others is 50% less effective than using it on yourself. And Ryu said that RCT to regenerate a limb is a hell of a feat when Yuta did it. Now, when you compare that to what Shoko achieved in chapter 261, you will see why she is the best option. Even at 50% power, she was able to restitch plus heal Gojo and Yuta's entire bodies within just a few minutes. And so combining this level of RCT with the durability of Yuji, then you are building a sorcerer that is built different. See, our MC has an unbreakable and the strongest soul in existence. Time and time again, Sukuna has tried to break his willpower to achieve his ideals, but every time it's been foiled by Yuji's relentless determination. Compare this to Megami, who immediately folded in chapter 213, where Sukuna said he waited for his soul to shatter. We start to get a better picture of why Yuji is the MC. So many characters have passed on their curses onto his shoulders, but he never gives up to attain victory against curses. Even Gojo said he's a bit crazy in the head when it comes to killing them, and then Yuji had the I'm you moment when clashing ideals with Mahito, that it doesn't matter what era or name, he will kill curses. Speaking of which, Mahito stated Yuji defeated him despite his soul only being at 10% strength compared to his 40%. But it's not only that, Yuji is constantly compared to Maki despite not having heavenly restriction. In chapter 161, Amai slammed right into him at Mach 3 speed into multiple buildings but did no damage, declaring that Yuji is tough since that attack would have made most people into mincemeat. This eventually led to Yuji fighting Higuruma without cursed energy, where the grade 1 sorcerer admits to using everything he had just to start overpowering our MC. Later, Sukuna punched him at full power and he got back up again like nothing happened. But to level up our defense even more, during the 1 month period of the training that occurred proved successful. Sukuna states in chapter 250 that all the sorcerers are shown up with extremely tight defenses where they can take on his slashes if they are not a direct hit. Now, you may may argue that the strongest sorcerer we are building should take on Ryu, as the king claims their defense isn't matching his. But Yuji's strong soul is too important to give up. It's one of the reasons he can keep moving forward with RCT to heal Sukuna's 4 fatal attacks and tank his punches, shrine, and whatever else in his awakened state without even flinching. And as we know, the soul is the body and the body is the soul, as sorcery involves understanding that is interconnected as one. This is another reason why Yuji is blessed by the sparks of black, since he understands it. This would make our strongest sorcerer completely busted, as even Mahito revealed that the soul cannot be protected. However, isn't Maki or Toji's defense a better choice? They can tank Gojo's red without breaking any bones, or even 2 black flashes from Sukuna. Heck, even the king took on a 200% purple without a problem, having the best defensive feat ever. Well, my friend, I've saved Sukuna's trade for something very important, because our strongest sorcerer is just like him for his race and body composition. Sukuna is immaculate and beautiful. There is no greater advantage than having twice the number of arms and mouths. It was thanks to them that he could dominate the golden age of sorcery in the Heian era. So how could we miss this trait? The extra arms allow him to perform hand signs while keeping others free, and the extra mouth can continuously chant empowered words without straining his heart or lungs. On top of that, no bodily functions are hindered. This is way too powerful to give up on our character, as chapter 223 revealed your entire skill includes the art of minimizing the steps required to use their curse technique. We've already broken down how OP Unlimited Void is, and considering Gojo could cast his domain faster than Sukuna when they both had 2 arms, by matching Heian era Sukuna's 4, then we two will be able to outmatch him in a domain battle, which means any given situation would become too difficult and overwhelming for sorcerers to deal with. Speaking of which, what about speed? Well, turn up the music and prepare your living funeral, because it's Kashimo. You're probably wondering why not Naoya? Well, he turned into a vengeful cursed spirit. His high speed drastically increased to thrice the speed of sound, around 3,700 kilometers per hour. But the problem is, he was a cursed spirit and had a cursed technique of projection that helped him achieve it. Our character is a divine human and won't have that power, which is a shame since Naobita was the fastest sorcerer after Gojo. This leaves us with Toji or Maki, where a lot of you picked them. They can run on water and eventually air itself, arguably being on par as the fastest. However, according to our rules, it doesn't logically make sense for us to choose this trait. In exchange for her lack of cursed energy, they possess exceptional physical prowess with heavenly restriction. Sukuna said it's the first time in history that someone has placed a role upon him to determine whether pouring everything into the body or cursed energy is better. The outcome gave us the answer. Sukuna won, which means we should pick Kashimo. He had the title of the strongest 400 years ago and could jump 203 meters off the ground like nothing. Eventually, he even dodged the world reality cutting slash despite having a warning. Overall, he overwhelmed Hikari in numerous instances with his domain being active just like Araume, meaning he's on par with the golden age of sorcery. At the end of the day, he's supersonic before using his one-time curse technique, which is more than enough since we have Limitless Blue, which can be utilized to speed up our character even further. However, this does leave us with a dilemma. Who do we choose for our strength trait? All of the strongest have been taken and Maki's not allowed. Well, did you forget about this dude? Gege himself said Miguel was the MVP in Getta's War because he stalled Satoru Gojo long enough for it to occur in the first place. The sorceress believed Miguel had enough strength to land the final blow on Sukuna after he's burnt out from fighting Gojo and trained Yuta to become a special grade. But what makes him so strong? According to Gojo, even though it's scary, it's his physical abilities that make him a formidable enemy. Gojo claims that Miguel has a rare skeletal structure and muscles and becomes a threat compared to others. In other words, Racist Joe was just like, you're strong because you're black, or are you black because you're strong?
I'm blocking you. That was the dumbest shit I heard all day.
However, Miguel states that he's not special because he's black, but it's because he's him. If Gojo and Miguel fought together with only physical abilities strengthened by cursed energy, Gojo could win in terms of defensive movement in the marathon, but would lose when it came to striking in a sprint, which makes Miguel the perfect strength trait character to choose. But you're probably thinking, well, our character would probably have the title of the strongest, but still can't beat Sukuna and Gojo combined. Well, considering that we are picking Kenjaku's intelligence and battle IQ for our next trait, I highly doubt that. Some of you picked Todo because he literally says that his brain's mental CPU is at 530,000 IQ, which I'm not going to doubt for a second. However, Kenjaku has more than proved his worth. My man was so bored because he's experienced everything and anything anything that he wants to create a new creature, spending 1,000 years to make it happen. He's the one that taught Sukuna how to become immortal and has the most knowledge regarding cursed energy and strategies used in Jujutsu battles. In chapter 206, he said, "I have lived through 1,000-year feuding giants, alliances and betrayals in the world of curses. Tengen's tactics were too old and boring, where he had already seen them before, being able to figure out everything immediately." This endless knowledge makes him the second strongest at barrier techniques, only behind Tengen, and can do barrierless domains, which are regarded as a divine technique. Kenjaku also devised strategy to eliminate a nearly unbeatable sorcerer. He noticed that Gojo was strongest when fighting alone, so he orchestrated the Shibuya incident to put him at a disadvantage and ensured that no one from Jujutsu High recognized him as Suguru Geto, maintaining the element of surprise essential to his plan. Eventually he launched the Culling Games, having prepared for it in advance. Over many generations, he recruited sorcerers from different eras to participate. He is the only sorcerer who knows how to turn someone into a cursed object after death, showcasing his unmatched knowledge of Jujutsu sorcery. Kenjaku even anticipated Satoru Gojo's return and avoided a fatal encounter by forming an alliance with Sukuna. Kenjaku's mastery of sorcery extends to battle as well, analyzing Yuki and taking several risks to defeat her. He initially tried to keep her at a distance to observe her skills, but this strategy backfired. Even after losing the exchange, he noticed that Yuki still found his abilities challenging. When Yuki hesitated to open a domain, Kenjaku expanded his own and inflicted significant damage. He ultimately defeated Yuki through deception, a key weapon for a sorcerer. And to seal the deal, making our built character undefeatable and the ultimate sorcerer, the curse tool they will possess is the inverted Spear of Heaven. It's basically having Angel's Technique nullification in a sword. It forces the stoppage of any other technique it comes into contact with, such as Limitless being completely stopped. What's even more busted is that Toji believed even at long range he could nullify Satoru's red and blue Limitless techniques using the curse tool's extended reach, which means it trumps even the soul-cutting katana or komotoke in my eyes. Oh, and by the way, Inverted Spear of Heaven was one of the only cursed tools with the power to cancel out the effects of the Prism Realm. But after all that, what would your character look like? Make sure you comment yours below and their traits. And to enjoy more peak fiction, watch this video regarding Yuji becoming strong enough to defeat all the disaster curses.